This is likely the only review of the 1977 short film, last night's feature presentation, The Mailbox from 1977. This was picked by Andy 8010. This one I've seen twice now. This is a Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints film. It's 24 minutes long, and there's a nice vein of LDS films out there. Personally, I own a 5 short film DVD set, and all of them are pretty watchable. A couple of them are really good. Mainly The Gift and 1977, and The Phone Call. I think it's also 1977. The Mailbox, 1977, is directed by David K. Jacobs, who directed 4 short films, all LDS films. I assume he is or was a Mormon himself. He had a nice little string there in the late 70s. The First Vision, 1976. This one, The Mailbox, 1977. Uncle Ben, 1978. And One Blinding Moment from 1980. The other 3 that I just mentioned, I think I will definitely be looking up to see if they're available to view. This movie, The Mailbox, 1977, stars Leth Tatke. I think it's Leth, not Lethy. Played by... Sorry, it's Leth. Leth Tatke is the actress. She plays Leth Anderson in the film. The actress was born in 1893 and died in 1986. Nice long life. She's said to be 83 in the film, the character, and she's 83 also. So it's kind of, they use her real name, her real first name, and her real age. And she looks every bit of it. She just looks like she's a real nice, real kind old lady. And I definitely assume she was Latter-day Saints herself, like Jacobs. She was born in Utah, and she was in a lot of, not a lot, but I think about maybe 10 or so LDS films. Her first one was 1956's How Near to the Angels. She was in that. So, all right. So this movie is about Leth, a widow who is just lives by herself in this house with, it's not in like a big neighborhood, it's kind of like in a country area, I guess. But every day she walks out to her mailbox down this little road, and with her little cane, her little walking stick, and just stands by the mailbox, knows exactly when the mail truck is going to come by, and she's kind of lonely, and she hopes for letters specifically from her family. And there's her daughter, who has young children at home, lives, I guess, far away, because the old lady wants her to write her a letter. Sometimes they talk on the phone. There's like maybe 2 scenes of them talking on the phone, but her daughter's real busy. She says, my kids are taking up all my time. And the old lady keeps saying, please write me sometime so I can reread our conversation. And she can't hear very well sometimes on the phone, so she'd rather get letters from her or from the kids too. And that's kind of her like daily hope is waiting for mail, and just having some form of communication with people. And she gets it from the mailman, who's a really nice guy. He's been her mailman for 10 years, and even when he'll say something like, "Sorry, I only have this utility bill for you," but she's nice every time. She'll say, "Well, it's better than nothing," or he'll say, sorry, nothing today. But he'll stop at the mailbox and have a few words with her, say, nothing today. And she'll say, it's okay, thank you anyway. And so there's a kind of a relationship with him. But there's a kind of a neighbor, a young woman, kind of maybe the same age as the old woman's daughter, who lives, I guess, close by. We don't really know, but within walking distance, because she lets her little daughter come visit her sometimes, and the daughter likes to go visit her. And there's some good scenes of them like hanging. There's one really good scene of them hanging out together where the girl is doing jump roping in the kitchen, and the old woman is doing this little song that you do with jump roping, and she takes out crayons, says, I want you to color. So she really enjoys hanging out with the little girl, and she says, I'm not, don't worry, I'm not lonely. But then she's by herself one time. She says, I'm so lonely. And then she looks at the picture of her deceased husband and says, but it's okay, one day we'll be together again, which is really a Mormon theme. And there's not a whole lot of Mormon or any kind of like religious messaging in that. Like, that's very subtle. And just, I guess, the whole thing of caring for your elderly loved ones is kind of a good message. Make sure to communicate with them and take the time to write them, that kind of, and be neighborly and that kind of thing. So it's not heavy on the religious messaging, and that's like the best type of the LDS films. Wow. All right. So the woman, there's good. I love the scenes of her walking down the path, like in the kind of the late fall. It's got the leaves and stuff. There's a really good little atmosphere there. And then the last one where it's in the winter and it's snow. She's walking out. It's a really nice shot. And that's the ending where she opens the mailbox, doesn't see anything, and then she goes, wait, I think she opens it and there is a letter, and it's from her daughter and the kids, I think, all wrote together, sort of. And she takes the letter into her house and then sits down to read it. She has either a heart attack or a stroke before she can read it. And the little girl comes over to visit her, but she's knocking on the door. She didn't die, but then somehow the girl tells her mother, the little girl, the neighbor tells the neighbor woman, the mother, what's going, something's wrong, and she comes in and calls the ambulance. She's still, barely hanging on, and says, I'm so happy to get a letter, even though she never was able to read it. And that's the ending of the movie. The neighbor calls the woman's daughter and tells her what she said when she was right before she died. And so it's just a really I liked it a lot the second time watching it. Like I said, there's just some of these Mormon films. There's some really good ones in there. There's some really mediocre ones, I might say, but this one is a good watch if you want to check it out. And a lot of good community building in this for a short film. Wow. And there's only 6 in the cast. So you have Left Tatke, you have the neighbor. The woman is played by Rebecca Glade, who plays Sharon Johnson. That's the neighbor. This is her only film. And then there's the little girl is Rachel Johnson. She's played by Rachel Jacobs. Again, they used the same first name for some of these people. So Rachel Jacobs is, I assume, is the daughter of David K. Jacobs, the director. She is probably the most accomplished of the probably the most accomplished actor in this movie. which isn't saying a whole lot, but she was in a few Mormon films like Uncle Ben. She was in that, also directed by David K. Jacobs. And The Mailbox is her first movie appearance. But she was mostly in TV shows, mainly from the 1980s, like, in particularly, It's Not Easy, which was a TV show that lasted from 1982 to 1983. It's one of those, I've never heard of it before, but it had Bert Convy in it, the game show host, and that's the only name I recognize in it. But she was the main character, like part of the family, I think. And she was in 12 episodes of Family Ties, which is pretty big. She had a recurring role as, I don't know, maybe a neighbor, and then, or maybe a girlfriend of Michael J. Fox or something. She was Alex Keaton. And then she was in just a bunch of other shows, mainly like one episode each, like Silver Spoons and Love Boat, and just some other films. Surprised she was never in the Cosby Show. Everyone showed up in the Cosby Show. But so she had a nice bit part. She's like really cute in this movie. She's a really good actress, very, very likable, and only 6 years old in this movie. And one of the other main actors that was also fairly well accomplished, maybe equally with Rachel Jacobs, was Mike the Mailman. So Mike the Mailman I thought this guy's face looked familiar, and I have seen him in 2 films, and one in particular that I was like, that's who he is. So Alan Nash is the name of the actor, and he was in one of my favorite films of all time, the one that I always watched before Horror Fest, Beyond and Back, 1978, a documentary dramatization film about stories from dying and coming back to life, where he played a very quick role as Ben Franklin, and he's got the whole get up, and they say, Ben Franklin once said, living is just an embryonic state, for a man is not truly born until he dies. So it was like showing that Ben Franklin, this great inventor, like also believed that there was an afterlife. And he also was, and that face, I knew I recognized that face. But he's good in this movie. I really like his candor and his presence and his rapport with the old woman. It's really good. But he also was in a 1993 film, an animated thing, doing the voice of Ben Franklin, and it's called Animated Hero Classics. It was like one episode. So this tells me that he did some kind of theater acting before, maybe back in the early to mid 70s, and had a lot of experience like playing Ben Franklin in weird roles. He got 2 Franklin roles, 15 years apart. So he was also in a movie I've seen that I've watched pretty much every Christmas fest, Mr. Krueger's Christmas, 1980, with Jimmy Stewart as Mr. Hathaway. And I'm not sure who Mr. Hathaway is. Maybe a proprietor of a clothing store, or someone who was in Mr. Krueger's building. But I'll definitely be looking for him when I watch that film for Christmas fest. He was in mostly TV movies, a slew of TV movies, mostly in the 80s. But another one that I've seen with him in it, a TV movie and by the way, Mr. Krueger's Christmas is also LDS. Okay, so I'm thinking Alan Nash could have been LDS, because he was also in a TV movie called Child Bride of Short Creek, 1981, which I've seen one time, about a rural religious cult in, I said the Midwest, but it came off as like Utah, this little community of people. And guys, this is a creepy film. It's just, about like a polygamist cult where you have Christopher Atkins, a young Christopher Atkins, and Diane Lane, who was probably 14, or played like a 14-year-old, and they're kind of boyfriend, girlfriend in the cult. They eventually try to escape this cult, and the main, like, patriarch guy of the community is played by Conrad Bain, who is the dad in Different Strokes. And this is a creepy movie, and Conrad Bain is just like he's like he plays the perfect, like, creepy, like, old patriarch guy of this cult who is married to, like, all these young girls, and eventually he tells Diane Lane's father, like, it's the Lord's will, it's time for me to marry Jessica Ray, who was Diane Lane. And wow, I mean, it is like, it's a squeamish, you will be squeamish, but it's like, if you're into that, in that kind of mood, it's worth, like, checking out. And eventually he gets arrested, which is good, and but because they cut the phone lines off in this thing, and so they can't connect with the outside world. But eventually he gets arrested. And I think it's by Alan Nash's character, because he plays a sheriff in this film. And I think he's the guy who comes and arrests him and some of the others. Helen Hunt is also in this. I don't remember her, but she was probably one of the abused girls, because she would have been close to, like, 20 at the time, but probably one that had been married to one of these guys, or the polygamy thing for years. But yeah, it's a weird movie, guys. Child Bride of Short Creek. Alan Nash was in that. I know I'm off on tangents, but this is what you do when you start researching the IMDb for one little short 24-minute LDS film. You start finding all these little rabbit trails, and it's pretty intriguing. The other two characters in this film, the other two credits are Martha Hinstrom, who does the voice of Myra, who is the daughter of the old woman. You never see her, you just hear her voice. She was in one other film called The Cipher in the Snow, 1974. Also an LDS film. This one has I've seen it once. This one has Bruce Kimball of Drive-In Massacre, 1976. See, another rabbit trail. And finally, we have Winky Horman, who does the voice of Susan, who I believe is like the daughter of the granddaughter of the girl you just hear on the phone. And this is her only film. So, The Mailbox, 1977. I recommend checking out at least one time. It's not my favorite of the LDS films, but it's like, I liked it better the second time, and it's got a lot of redeeming qualities to it. It's got a good message, so, and it's just kind of, if you have just a little time and you want to check something out kind of in the early winter months, it has the right atmosphere for that. So all right, so I hope you check out the Mailbox 1977, last night's featured presentation. Thank you, Andy. That was a good one.